Formality demands that I say a formal hello and a very warm welcome to both of you. It's been a joy to have known you, and it's a privilege to do this with you today. Certainly. The role of adventure tourism in promoting domestic travel. When I got to hear about this, a lot of things jumped in my head. So I can't talk about all of that because we have a very limited time. Ajit, the first one, of course, to you because you are the flag bearer of adventure tourism in this country. So it can't be not to you first. Samit, if you will allow me. Ajit, what is the percentage of adventure tourists in the overall tourist volume in this country? First question to you.
To answer your question, Kaushik, in 2017, it was said that there were about 165 million domestic tourists in the country. Even if 1 to 2% of that is adventure tourists, and we would like to urge all state governments and our Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, to do a study to gauge the exact number of adventure tourists in the country. But according to estimates, it should be between 20 to 30 million Indians going out, whether it's soft adventure, trekking, hiking in the hills, to rafting, to ballooning, scuba diving. Adventure tourism in our country is on an upswing.
So you're saying 20 to 30 million is a back of the envelope math as far as adventure tourists are concerned, domestic within the country. Great. Ajit, for obvious reasons, you have taught us as a flag bearer from rafting to mountaineering, the entire grammar of adventure tourism. Pick up three things that you would like to put into play to increase the consumption of this category. Deepen the category and widen the category.
So I think post-COVID, people have been cooped indoors. Everybody, including myself, we're all suffering from cabin fever. And I think what all of us are really missing in our lives is a little bit of a nature connect. And adventure is going to give us that nature connect. Whether it's hiking in the mountains, just getting out of doors, I think is important enough. But post-COVID, what I feel will work best would be driving holidays as a family, definitely trekking and mountaineering. And I think all adventure activities, whether it's ballooning, long as you get into a balloon as a family, or river rafting, long as it's done properly, following social distancing. I would not like to use the term social distancing because we Indians, we can never be socially distant. So physical distancing norms, and I think adventure tourism is the way to go. Some basic protocols, and we have some great adventure tourism operators in our country. And, long as we follow those in letter and spirit, I think adventure is the way to go, especially in a post-COVID world.
Super, super. I hate social distancing as an expression. I use safe distancing as a matter of fact. Thank you for that clarity. Samit, coming back to you. What can I say if I don't say that you've been literally pushing the balloon sort of amongst all the balloon operators in this business? Can ballooning increase the aura of a destination?
Thank you so very much at the onset for this fabulous opportunity.
Always welcome.
Ajit on one side and you on the other side. It's going to be difficult for me to give a match. And social distancing, as both of you said, is not the greatest of the terms to be used. I think when we're talking of nature connect, we should call it natural distancing. And that's what we are all about. So coming back to your question, for sure, ballooning in spirit, in style, in its visibility, in the experience, it is all about aura. And statistically, it's been proven that a balloon is the second most photographed object in the world after a celebrity. The irony of the matter is that the people inside the balloon can't take as lovely pictures as the people on the outside who are watching the balloon fly. So balloons do definitely add a lot of color, a lot of glamour to any wall, any postcard, any picture that you paste them on. So yes, undoubtedly that it adds color, it adds a certain kind of awe, and this has also been proven in the past. You know, if you look at destinations like a Bagan became quadruply more popular because of the balloon flights over the pagodas. Cappadocia is again history. It's the ballooning capital of the world. 800 people take a balloon flight there every morning, simply because of the fact that the view that you get there, being in a balloon, is beyond comparison.
Samit, I will throw a quick one as a follow-up to this to you. Before I go to Ajit on my next question, you have worked with state governments across the country. Pick up two state governments, pick up two adventure activities, and marry the two of them and tell us what can work for them.
Again, there are many examples, and as we're talking, Ajit is lucky. He's currently at his camp in Uttarakhand. So river rafting is something that has happened to Uttarakhand, and it's kind of synonymous today with that. But in terms of new things, my recent learning and exposure was to this absolutely mind-blowing experience of caving in the caves of Shillong, or around Shillong in Meghalaya. I think that's something which is very, very unique to that part. And as we move along, I'm sure larger interests will emerge and we will see that being promoted. The other one thing I think in due course of time is going to gather steam is sailing. And as a concept, it hasn't really caught up in our country, but there is a lot of younger generation which is exhibiting and showing interest, and this can be done. You don't necessarily need to be in ocean waters to engage with this. You can be in river waters as well. And India is full of lakes, India is full of rivers. So I personally am very bullish on sailing as well.
Ajit, I come back to you. We opened the chat with the social and the safe distancing part. One cannot not do it. You and I accept that. Between traditional tourism and adventure tourism, how do you bring into play safe distancing?
I think before I answer your question, there's one thing I'd like to mention here. Samit, I don't know if I've told you this, but I had the privilege of going ballooning on one of your trips near Jaipur. And I think that was a fantastic experience, absolutely world class. So what I want to say is that what we have in India today, we have absolutely amazing world-class operations here. And we've got the most amazing potential for adventure tourism. And we need to push this segment of tourism to really take it to the next level. But well, traditional tourism, coming to that, so let us say you're going to a regular cultural destination. I think it's important to add a touch of nature, and even if it's soft adventure to that. So let's say you're going even to look at the Taj Mahal, get out wherever you're staying from your hotel, go cycling to see the Taj. There are some great nature opportunities near there, near the area. You can get to the Chambal Ravines, to Dholpur and that area. So, well, I think we have the perfect combination in India of culture, our natural heritage, and adventure opportunities. India as a country, you see this in Indiana Jones movies. You get out of the cities and it's right there, right in front of you.
That's really very well put. And thank you so very much for the appreciation, Ajit. So coming from someone like you, it really means a lot. Thank you.
No, but I must say this, and I don't get to say this because probably I don't say this, not because I don't get to say it. Ajit, when somebody like you, somebody like Samit is operating something, it got to be better than world class. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I'm very proud of both of you. Believe you me, for whatever it is worth. Having said that, Samit, I've often wondered, a lot of destinations in our country has waned in popularity, as a matter of fact, or some are very unknown. They are very back of beyond. Can ballooning actually, if I can borrow the lyrics of an old song, light my fire again of those places?
Well, yes, for sure. And you and me have been a part of a certain discussion a while ago, a few months ago. There are a few destinations that we, as an enterprise, as Skywalls, are working to begin ballooning operations in, and places that will need something like a ballooning operation to actually be able to experience them in the best possible manner. And one of them is Hampi. And God willing, if it now this year looks a little improbable, but if not in 2020, then definitely 2021, Hampi is going to be one addition to our ballooning footprint, because the way you can enjoy the beauty of that landscape from being up there, you can't enjoy it in any other manner. The other places which are relevant is this entire Buddhist circuit in the eastern part of UP, the Sarnath and all of that area, because again, the kind of monuments, the kind of landscapes, the excavations that are existing there, they're best experienced when you are hovering or sailing above them, if I can say. So there are many other places which are new places like this. And you also asked if there are places that are gradually being forgotten. So the classic example that comes to my mind for a place like that is Khajuraho.
Oh,
And
yes.
I think
Yes.
all of us will agree that in the last 10, 15 years, we've only seen the popularity of that destination go down. And this one experience, because of that cluster, so the only difference between a Bagan and a Khajuraho is that the spread in Bagan is larger, while it is smaller in Khajuraho, but it is more or less a similar experience. And we're actually talking to the government, and if all goes well, very soon one should be able to see this activity come up there. And you have been a part. You've been a part of the presentation that was made to the government to this effect. So
Oh, yes. I wish you all the very best for that, because a lot of places need a redefinition, as we say in advertising, relaunching. Yes, it's very important. Ajit, one thing has been kind of, back of my mind, a classical 3-night, 4-day typical Desi holiday in a star property. Family goes sightseeing, thodi si shopping, versus your traditional holiday versus your adventure tourism holiday. How do you package it, make it more likable, buyable, and desirable?
Both have their own merits, but definitely in a post-COVID world, especially, I would say, having been cooped indoors, people are wanting to get out. I know I can say that for myself as well. I'm sitting in a beautiful, wide open, natural space. In terms of packaging, I think cost-wise, an adventure holiday would, including the adventure activity, 1 or 2 adventure activity, would be pretty much the same, or perhaps even a little bit lower price point than a typical cultural holiday with a bit of shopping thrown in. But talking about stuff versus experiences, I know as a family, what I have done for my kids as well is gone heavy on the experiences stuff, on the experiences side, as opposed to the stuff side. Instead of buying things, I think the best things we buy are experiences. Buying material things, we buy experiences. And I think that is something that stays forever with us.
Completely agreed. Completely agreed. But I'm going to throw a follow up on this one.
Sure.
Help me to understand this. As a country, as a nation, as Indians, generally not as fit as you and your family members, of course. Your great daughter was a great mountaineer. We are like Adha kilometer chale as a trek, and then we slump. How do you, in a generally obese, non-fit population, bring the desire to go out for an adventure tourism?
So I think when you get out, the first thing that happens is this realization dawns on you that life is too precious. We need to get into shape. And even if it is soft adventure, like let us say you go camping somewhere, start the day with a little bit of yoga and I don't think you need a huge amount of fitness to do some of your regular soft adventure activities, like, for instance, an easy rafting trip or zip lining or a balloon safari. So long as, you know, you match your physical fitness with the activity that you're doing, I think if anybody reasonably fit can get out and pursue most of the adventure activities. I would say 60 to 70% of the adventure activities, anybody reasonably fit with no major ailments like a weak heart condition or a bad back or recent surgery, I think they can get out and 60 to 70% of the activities you can safely and easily do. But as I said, it's important each time you plan an adventure holiday, use it as an excuse to get into really, really good shape. You enjoy it a lot more. You know, that adrenaline rush and exercise, the endorphins that it releases in your system makes you happy. I think a combination of the two is a very strong case for adventure travel.
So there is something called soft rafting.
Yeah, easy rafting, float trips. You don't have to do the major grade 5 rapids. You
Okay.
can, for instance, even here on the Ganges River, you can take a pick of trips. There are some grade 4 rapids, absolutely adrenaline pumping stuff. Or you can go for the easier, what we call grade 2 rafting trips, which is easy, which is relaxed. Of course, monsoons, there is no rafting here right now. But after the monsoons, we are sure it's going to pick up and the river is going to see a lot of adventure tourists, and the whole beautiful valley is going to see a lot of camping operations here as well.
Well, if you promise to hold me to that easy rafting, trust me, after the COVID lockdowns are over, we'll be soon with you wherever you are. It's a promise. Samit, coming back to you. Samit, I have often been wondering, literally speaking, that there are certain addresses in this country that are synonymous with certain kinds of activities. If you want to do diving, it's Andamans. If you want to do something else, it is somewhere else. My question to you is very simple. If I want to promote Vizag, as you know, has a great diving opportunity, as a matter of fact, or for that matter, if I have to do options of a new destination with an old experience and forget an older destination, how can you help to package that, promote that?
You know, one basically has to marry the givings, the environment, the offerings of a destination to what possibly is the best adventure experience that can go along with it. So, you know, like beer billing, paragliding has happened to beer billing because of the way beer billing is. Ballooning has happened to the outskirts of Jaipur because of the terrain that the outskirts of Jaipur, along with the weather, has to offer. You mentioned that scuba diving and Andamans, they go hand in hand. So, you know, it's these kinds of things. So one, essentially, there's no rocket science. You basically, so I can't be doing river rafting here in the Yamuna in Delhi. I will need rapids, I will need that terrain for the water to kind of cascade and give all of those multitudes of experiences, which is why it happens in Rishikesh. So this is, I think that's how it is going to move. And newer experiences are definitely going to be coming alive. If one calls seaplaning an experience, then yes, in the next year, you will see some fabulous seaplane rides happening within the inland waters of India. Sailing, I've already spoken of, and one is also now, I think there is a huge amount of work with which the Aero Club of India is doing on promoting aviation sports, and some interesting things will come to light.
Okay, so Mr. Mukherjee will ask you two quick questions, and this is to both of you. Ajit, first you may respond to my question. Children are technically the most adventurous member of every family. I've always felt that if you want to promote adventure tourism, create products aimed at the children, preteen and teens, during their holidays, which is summer and winter. If that be so, what can you recommend?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. You know, children, teens, they've faced the brunt of the corona situation. You know, whether it's the exam stress or just being in their homes, not able to go out and be children. So I think the best thing for families to do would be to go out, to drive out, soft adventure destinations, go walking, go hiking as family, go to a wildlife safari, go just any soft adventure that you can do together as a family. But I think our kids deserve the gift of nature, especially having spent all that time indoors and having faced the brunt of the COVID situation.
All right. Samit, can you talk of anything which is a customized product aimed at children to create an upsurge in consumption in adventure tourism?
Well, I think in the last 2, 3 years, the various governments that I've spoken with, one thing in common has emerged. People are really looking forward, to these camping holidays in exotic locations, especially during the winter and the summer vacations. And these camping holidays, along with certain other activities, so it's a camping holiday where you're also learning horse riding, or it's a camping holiday where you're also learning sailing, or it's a camping holiday where you're also learning how to trek and mountaineer. So these are some things which I have seen in the last 2, 3 years are being commonly discussed by most of the states, and I think it's a great product if created properly, and will probably attract a lot of attention.
My last question, again to both of you. State governments and the state tourism boards, in your opinion, what can they do with specific examples, any state that you can think of, both of you, which, as an example, can spike adventure tourism?
India has it all. We have every conceivable, like Samit mentioned, we have every conceivable geographical terrain. We are a biodiversity hotspot. We have, even a lot of our fellow citizens don't know this, but we have 73% of the Himalayan range in our country. We have amazing potential for adventure tourism in India. We could pit any country to the post. What, to my mind, is required? Well, as you know, tourism is a state subject in our country. But the first thing that we need to do is change perception within our country and globally that adventure tourism in India is safe. Safer, for instance, than driving around here. We have the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India came out with the safety guidelines.
Yes.
And I think every state in India has to implement those guidelines in letter and spirit. I would say another very important aspect is that anybody operating adventure tours in India must be registered either by the state government or the central government as an adventure tour operator. They must tick all the boxes. They must have good equipment. Their guides must be trained, also certified in first aid, CPR, right? And they must adhere to all risk management protocols. I spoke about the adventure tourism guidelines. And I think another very vital aspect in this is the sustainability aspect. When we get out of doors, we must strictly follow the leave no trace principle. When we get out, when as adventure tourists, you're going out, by definition, you're a more evolved tourist. You're going to nature. You're going for a nature immersion. And I think it's absolutely vital for all of us to also educate our adventure tourists to really be custodians of the great Indian natural heritage and to leave these places cleaner than we find them, for instance, and have no negative impact in any way. We have an amazing, amazing natural heritage in India.
Agreed. Samit, you want to add to that?
So I think whatever Ajit has said is absolutely relevant and very, very important. But you asked a question, what else can the government do? So there are two more things that I would like to add to this. Number one, the government for sure can enable better infrastructure, because a lot of these things that we are attempting to do also requires better infrastructure than we currently have. And that's something that's going to come from the government. And largely, the communication, the story of selling and telling tourism is also by and large done by the government. And I think that's a very, very important part and an important role that the government can play better in telling stories in a manner that tourism and adventure actually start to marry each other. Because as of now, if you look at the larger stories that the tourism ministries sell or tell, they are about tourism. They're not necessarily about adventure tourism. And, products, these are 5, 6, 7 things that we're speaking of. If they can become products, even in our campaign, that, okay, this is something again ticked off in your bucket list, or this is something which instigates, propels, and compels you to go to this particular destination, which otherwise you would not have gone to. So I would not have gone to a Rishikesh had I not wanted to get into a raft. I wouldn't have gone to Oli had I not wanted to ski. I wouldn't have gone to a Hampi if I didn't want to take a balloon flight. So then this becomes bait and a reason for somebody to travel to that particular destination. And this is what then creates a hook, which is powerful enough to fascinate somebody and travel in a particular direction. So I think this is something which is very, very important. And this is effectively also how adventure tourism can help in promoting domestic travel.
So you're saying Incredible India as a campaign should be focused on adventure aspects aimed at the domestic consumer, as a matter of fact, in broad sense media?
No, I don't mean to say that. What I mean to say is that it can also be the incredibly adventurous India.
Absolutely.
So that's it.
Absolutely.
I want to throw a last one at you. I have always been a fan of brand extension, product extension. लोग वैष्णो देवी जाते हैं भगवान के दर्शन में during very snowy times. After a prayer, is it possible to create an extension of a part of this population into what is adventure tourism aimed at their physical fitness? Could be skating, could be a snow trek by the stars or whatever. But can you create a vertical to vertical movement? Pilgrim or religious tourism to adventure tourism in this particular case is an example. Can you think of something? Ajit.
So I think, as you very rightly pointed out, a lot of pilgrimages happen, let us say, when you go to Amarnath, when you go to Vaishno Devi, Hemkund Sahib or Kedarnath, you have to trek anyway to get to these places, right?
Yes.
Even our gods reside in beautiful natural places. And
Correct.
when you're already there, I know, for instance, the Jammu and Kashmir tourism, they have made efforts to promote, for instance, river rafting on the Chenab River. So I couldn't agree with you more. When people do get out on a pilgrimage, whether it's going and doing more trekking, going river rafting, maybe even a bungee jump or a zip line, depending on where you are, I think it's captive audience, and they must be encouraged to experience nature and experience adventure as well.
Fabulous. It's been a pleasure, and a big namaskar to you, Ajit. Namaskar, Samit. I hope you do something bigger and better than you always do anyways. I'll be happy to come and catch you in Rishikesh sometimes after the COVID. I promise you I will. I'll bring 2 little monkeys with me as well.
You're most cordially invited. We have the Himalaya range here. We've got the beautiful, pristine Ganges River, clean, fresh, healthy air, lots of greenery and trees. What more could you ask for?
That is life. That is life. And thank you so much. I'll hold you on to it. Samit, thank you very much.